Mega Man has been on a leave of absence for some time, but he slowly started to come back into the light with his appearance in Super Smash Bros. And both the Classic and X Legacy collections. And now Capcom is making a full new installment to the Classic series with Mega Man 11. We're about a month away and the demo just dropped for the game on Nintendo Switch, Xbox One, and PS4. Now I was excited to see the Blue Bomber get a new proper game, but I wasn't exactly convinced yet on it. Something just looked kinda off to me in the reveal, and the gear system, I wasn't sure how much it was gonna change things up. So the demo was a good testing ground to see if it was worth the plunge. What do I think? Well, let's get into it. So right off the bat, I actually want to talk about the controls. I know that sounds a little weird, but there are some cool settings in here they have. Auto fire as per usual with new Mega Man releases, but you can also now map the slide to a button and rush coil to a button to call at any time. This alone is fantastic and a great new addition. It was the first thing I noticed, so I wanted to talk about it first. Now the overall presentation, I really dig it. I found the music to be nice on the ears, the sound effects had a right amount of crunch to them as well. By the way, I love the slight little rumble on the Pro Controller when you ever do a charge shot. It just felt nice to pull off. And I was worried about the game going 2.5D, but I will say, once I saw it on the monitor in front of me playing, I think it looked pretty nice. Mega Man's run still looks a little odd to me, but everything else in the game is animated great. And I love the new menus for picking a boss and the boss intros. Which, is it me or are these taking heavy influence from the Smash trailer reveal for Mega Man? Anyway, on to the actual game. It felt pretty much like standard Mega Man, and look, I'm not here to explain in detail right now, but you jump, shoot, get to the boss, and take them out. But the demo has 2 powers unlocked right from the get-go to test out. 1 stage to play, and 3 difficulties that mainly change the amount of lives and how many checkpoints you get in the stage. I personally found casual and normal to be the right difficulties. Mainly on casual where you got 5 lives for a stage and 4 checkpoints, while normal was 3 lives and 2 checkpoints. The big new addition to the game is the gear mechanic. Basically by pressing L or R, you can enter 2 gear modes. Power Gear lets you power up your shots and get 2 charge shots for the price of 1, or Time Gear which slows time around you, but if you overload yourself you won't be able to use either of the 2 powers until the gauge refills. And when you're low on life, once per level you can enter a Double Gear, where you have both powers at once and can turn the tide. But once that runs out you become a much weaker Mega Man afterwards, so use with caution. So what did I like gameplay wise? Well, personally I love the Time Gear. It gives me just enough of an edge in battle where I find it useful, and can help in boss fights better understand pattern reading and form a strategy. And I liked how the level design also incorporated it as well. I also love the boss fight in this demo. It starts off like a typical Mega Man boss, but then he uses a power gear of his own and suddenly the fight changes drastically. I always love it when bosses use the same kind of abilities you can, so I really got a kick out of that. And even after you took out the giant form, you still had a last pinch phase to close the fight out. It felt a lot more in depth than any of the other Robot Masters in the series, which makes me really excited to see what the rest of them have in store. It was also nice that after you got a weapon, you had a little practice room to test the weapon out, which was great. And I think to me, that was what kinda grabbed me about the whole thing. It felt like just the right mix of old and new. The game is still Mega Man through and through, playing and feeling like it. But the gear system, new shortcut buttons, and the boss fights, not to mention I definitely died a lot from obstacles that felt like they were all my fault, so the challenge is definitely here. It felt like the game was moving forward with the series more than previous entries. So if Mega Man 9 and 10 weren't exactly your thing, I think you might really gravitate towards 11. Though I do have a few issues with the demo that I hope are fixed in the final game. For one, I felt like newcomer mode kinda spoils players a bit too much. You do get infinite lives and checkpoints are everywhere, and honestly if it was just that I think it'd be fine. But then it also gives you infinite half damage, spike reduction, and feet for every time you fall into a pit. Yeah, that felt like a bit much. It's not as bad as Mega Man 10's easy mode, but I don't think you need to tone it down by that much. Second, I just never found that much of a use for the power gear. See, when you do Time Gear, you save your charge shot, not with power gear, and by the time your charge shot is done, you're almost either out of power or you wasted your chance to strike. So I just never found a good time to use it and ended up using the time gear for better results. But I also had issues with these gear enemies, which pretty much require you to use time gear to move on. I think these are fine once in a while, but they showed up a little too much and kinda disrupt the pace of the level. It's not that big of a worry, but I do fear if they show up in the game too much, it might affect the game overall. And finally, I didn't find much use for the other weapons. The electrical one I found some use for in the final phase of the fight, and a few hard to reach enemies, but that's about it. And while I do like the dash of the drill, the knockback you get from using it caused me to get into a lot of trouble, so I ended up not using it much either because of it. So I went Mega Buster for most of my time. I am worried it will be like the later Mega Man games where the charge shot is really all you needed, and the other weapons really weren't that helpful. But overall, after the demo, I'd say I'm convinced and excited. I was on the fence on how much I would enjoy it, but now I got a much better idea for what the team is going for, and now I'm starting to feel the hype. And now we wait for the full game to come out October 2nd. Welcome back, Rock. Welcome back.